Hey there. So I have been wanting to make this video for quite some time now, but I've refrained from doing so for a while out of slight fear and paranoia that I would get a lot of backlash and harassment and maybe even blackmail for doing this. But I've come to the point that I not only want to do this for myself to help me deal with some inner turmoil, but also to hopefully help other people from not having to go down the path and experience some of the negativity that I have had, and that there's other ways to find what you're looking for instead of having to dive into certain things that you might really later regret. I've made previous videos about things that you should be aware and know before getting involved into the adult industry, but this video specifically is about a site that I worked for, a couple that were extremely abusive and degrading and rough, and it's basically the biggest regret that I have working in the adult industry, and I wish I never did it, but it's served its purpose in my path of life, and here I am now, so I can only learn from it. But I think that it's important for people to know about why I did it and why other people should think twice about doing it, because it's affected my life in a lot of different ways, mostly negative, and I wouldn't want to wish this type of mental hardship on anyone. So I worked for a site called Facial Abuse, aka face fucking. It has different names. The owner goes by different aliases, and it's basically a site that's extremely degrading and rough, and it promotes explicit, horrible acts onto women, mainly to vomit when you're deep throating and to get fucked extremely hard and to be called names and to do just really awful things on camera. And they try to exploit women to say things that they have in their lives that they're shameful about, and they basically exploit that, and they make people feel really shitty about themselves on camera. And the whole genre of that type of sex work is questionable, but this site has gotten popular in a sense over the years, and I get asked a lot about it, why I decided to shoot that type of content and did I like it, and it's followed me throughout my career and my life, and it's something that is really frustrating that I continuously get associated with, because I wish more than anything that I never shot for that company. So I'm going to tell you why I did it and my experience in it and why you should never do it. So early in my career, I am from Long Island originally. I have lived out in Los Angeles for over 6 years, but at this point in my career it was very early, and I was very, in a sense, lost mentally. I wasn't really sure where I was going in my life. I had shot one amateur scene, and I was really unsure about working in the adult industry, but I was kind of at a point where I'm like, you know what, I gotta make the most of it. And after a rough breakup, I decided to take the new opportunities that were presenting themselves to me, and I decided to get back into the adult industry. So I had shot a second amateur scene with a company that was a normal company, nothing weird or rough, and it went well, and they liked me a lot. And then I got asked if I wanted to shoot for Facial Abuse. And at the time, I was single, and I was very curious about certain things with my sexuality. I consider myself a very intense person. I have a lot of inner fire and passion, and sexually, I guess, I had asked partners in the past to be rough with me or choke me or slap me or spit on me, just to feel what it was like. To not necessarily that's what I'm into, but I just wanted to feel that intensity. Like, I desired that. So when I got offered this, I remember checking out the site with one of my best friends at the time. We were sitting at home at my parents' house, just in the basement, looking at all these terrible videos on these websites, and I'm just like, should I do this? And he looked at me and he's like, can you do this? And I said, I don't know. I'm kind of curious. I feel like I could handle it, but do I really want to go down this path? But I needed the money, and I was just so curious. Damn my curiosity, right? At the time. I mean, I have a completely different self-control now, and you realize as an adult that self-control is the best thing that you can have. But it didn't matter at that point. I was 21 years old and just confused. So I agreed to do it. And I knew what I was getting myself into when I walked into it. And I took a train to New Jersey, to Orange. Orange was the train stop from Penn Station. And I got off and I was met at a Dunkin' Donuts by one of the owners. And he was nice to me. It wasn't anything weird or alarming initially. And he took me to the studio, and it was in this cool building. I got upstairs and I met the male talent that I was working for, and they were nice to me. I mean, everyone there was nice initially. I mean, it was very normal. It was just a day of acting or work or whatever you want to call it. And they sat me down and just talking casually, and then I started filling out paperwork, and I signed my I signed all the paperwork, model release form, all that, and I filled out this form of my do's and don'ts. They asked me very specifically like what I was willing to do and what I wasn't, and I just remember looking at the list, and it was pretty graphic, and I knew it was going to be like that, but I just remember thinking like, oh, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this. And so I really only signed off certain things like choking, spitting, vomiting, question mark, because if it happened or not, when I would deep throat, it would happen. I mean, I didn't really know what to expect, but I didn't want certain things happening. And so when it started, the scene, and I don't advise anyone to watch this, like, it sucks because I'm sure people are going to after this, but I don't want to get so in detail about everything of the scene, but I'll try to be basic about it, so people get a general idea without you having to go watch it. I don't even want anyone to support those fucking companies. So it starts off with an interview type of me sitting on the couch, and I think I have my drumsticks inside of me, like at the beginning, and they're playing on the idea that I'm a drummer, and I'm doing some paradiddles on the couch and just being goofy. And then they start asking me questions, as in, have you ever been molested as a child or touched by family members? And they start asking these weird questions, trying to dig this information that they can use against me out. And I just kind of remember smiling and saying, no. I had really nothing to give them that they were going to use against me. And I think that was difficult for them because they see this attractive young woman in front of them that actually has talent and brains, and they wanted to break me. And I almost looked at it as a challenge, as if to say, well, I'm going to dissociate and I'm going to sort of mentally check out this whole time, so you're not going to break me. And that was sort of my attitude going into it. I'm like, I'm going to be able to get through this and prove that you're not going to break me. So the scene starts, and right away it's just push, push, slap, slap, split, spit, slut, whore. It was just this bomb of just physical abuse, and I knew that going into that it was going to be like that, but I mean, it was just sort of, whoa, it really took me off guard. And I didn't fight. I was very submissive. And I guess the appeal of even trying to do this type of scene was because I wanted to know what it was like to be treated like a rag doll, because I had never had that experience really in my personal relationships before this. And you know, I was always with men that, you know, cared too much to slap me, and which is fine. If anything, I admire a man that really respects his woman, but I was always so curious, you know, what it would be like to really get beaten by someone in a sexual way. And I was basically handed it to me, you know, on a silver platter, and choked, and you know, then the whole deep throating started, and it was very difficult to have to roughly give oral sex without, I mean, my throat was just torn up, and I lost my voice almost within 5 to 10 minutes just of the rough blowjob. And I remember it took them a while to make me vomit, and that was their goal. Their goal was just to fuck my throat until I was vomiting. And you could tell that they were almost getting angry that they couldn't do it. And when they finally did, it just spewed out, just vomit everywhere, vomit on my face, vomit all over my body. And then, you know, the jokes start. And I mean, I got called every degrading type of name you could imagine on camera, you know, with the added spitting and just demolish of my makeup. And like, they sought out to make me look as unattractive as possible in every way. And that's what their goal is. They want to completely ruin a woman on camera, and they will do anything in their power legally to do it. And maybe they overstep the legal boundaries at points, but that's to be determined by someone in law, because I don't want to go there. But my point is, that's their mission. They have no sense of respect in these videos, but you know that going into it, so you can't really say anything, right? So I just sort of checked out mentally the whole time, and this, you know, the sex started, and I just remember there was a part of me, because I had never had a threesome with 2 males, and it was a very new experience for me, but I was essentially being used. I was being passed back and forth, bam, bam, back, forth, you know, and it became almost this like competition to them, you know, like who could be worse with her. And it was really difficult, you know, and I was physically exhausted as well as mentally and emotionally. I mean, I was numb, but I just tried to mentally not be there and really disassociate, which, you know, it's kind of a skill that I've acquired over the years, being able to disassociate really well. But an admirable one, I don't know. I guess it could be looked at in different ways, but in this situation, I tried not to think about things that was going on inside my head. I kept thinking to myself, wow, you made this decision and now it's going to be on the internet forever, and this is going to be a part of your past. Is this really what you wanted? But it was too late, because what was I going to do? I mean, if I stopped, I wouldn't get the money. I would have to cause a scene within a scene. Like, I would have, you know, I'd have to deal with this drama, and I was embarrassed. I was already basically halfway through. I just remember I told myself, you know what, you're fucked either way, so keep getting fucked, because you're fucked. So, yeah, it continued, and I tried to enjoy it. Like, I tried, but I realized within that scene that this is not what I want. And I meant to say this before, but there was this part of me, because I had been single, and prior to this, I had gone through a really rough breakup with someone that I cared about, and I had hurt this person. And I almost felt this sense of guilt, like I needed to be punished. And in a sense, this scene was a form of punishment for me. But for me to go to the extreme and to get punished on camera knowing that this would be viewed by copious amounts of people that don't know me and that only see me in this way, it was the worst form of punishment I could have ever given myself, because it didn't just affect me in that moment, but it would continue to affect me for the rest of my life. So I thought about that during the scene. I thought about, is this the punishment that you needed? And to this day, I understand why I did it, but I wish that I had thought twice about that. I wish that I had thought, you could have exercised this form of self-healing in a much different way. But it was too late. So when the scene ended, it was almost like immediately the spell broke and everyone was acting normal again and treating me like a human being and saying like, are you okay? How was it? And it was like nothing ever happened. It was just another day at the office. And I remember taking a shower and talking to the male talent and just thinking, wow, what did I just do? And I got paid, and I was hanging out and just talking with them, and I didn't get paid enough. Definitely enough. I look back and I've gotten paid so much more for regular scenes than that shit, but what did I know? I was too nervous to ask for more money, and it's just stupid. So stupid. If that money is just so dumb when I think about it now. It's like nothing. So, but they know they can get away with it, because the women that they go after to work for are young and sometimes desperate and looking for relief in some way, and they target people that are going through things. They target people that are hurting. And I would soon realize this down the road. So that was the scene itself, right? And I took the train back to Penn Station, and I thought to myself, okay, wow, I just did that, and I tried to not think about it. I tried to not think about my parents knowing what I just did. I tried not to think about people that care about me, knowing that they would probably see that one day. I was sick to my stomach in a way, but I also just stopped thinking about it. And time passed, and I forgot about it in a way. I remember I was going to AVNs for the first time. I got invited by the second scene that I worked for. They liked me so much, they paid for my whole expenses to the AVN, and that was my first time there, and it was crazy. It was such a mind-altering weekend. It opened my perspective and mind to this whole industry, and I felt not judged by all these people. I felt sort of accepted, that I could just be, I wasn't going to be bullied or harassed by the people there, because they were all in the same wavelength. But I couldn't necessarily say that I didn't feel so connected with everyone, but I felt like I was in a safe place in a sense, because I wasn't being judged, but I didn't feel like it was my family, if that makes sense. But I was happy to experience it and to know what it was like. And I had a great time. It was very memorable. But I remember telling myself, I don't really know if I have to do this again. It's one of those experiences. But while I was there, I got invited to be on the show Ink Master on Spike TV. They asked me if I wanted to do a special where I was getting 4 tattoos done at the same time. And at this point in my life, I was very fragile, because I was very confused about my future, and I was getting harassed really bad by people on the internet, people in my hometown. I was going through a really imperative part of my self journey into finding out what I was doing with my life. And I ended up meeting my ex on the show, and while we were dating, the facial abuse scene came out, and that proved to be one of the most difficult things for my significant other at the time to see, and it destroyed him. He couldn't believe that I would do something like that, and granted, this was before I ever met him, and I reiterated that to him, but he couldn't believe that I was mentally able to do that and to be okay about it. And he made me feel really horrible about it. And at that point in my life, when we started dating, I stopped shooting, and he told me, we can be together, but I don't want you to shoot porn. And I said, that's completely fine. I wouldn't want to shoot porn if I was dating someone. And it was really horrible to kind of be in that. He was older than me and just made me feel really horrible about doing it. And then it made me feel 10 times worse. And I started thinking about, oh my God, what did I do? Why did I do that? Now everyone's going to find out. And it was terrible when that video came out. I mean, so many people were just shocked and appalled and sad and mortified. I mean, I can't tell you, it's one thing people find out you shoot porn, but then they find out you do like the most degrading video possible, when as a person, I'm a pretty level-headed and loving and bubbly and friendly and healthy human being. And to see me degraded in such an explicit way on camera was really very hard. And that is something that I want to make a point. It's one thing to explore your sexuality, and I think everyone has the right to want to get to know themselves in every way. But please think twice about shooting a video like that, because even if it seems appealing in the moment, there is an aftermath that follows that is vicious and malicious, and it will alter your life. If you have a desire to experience something like that, seek alternative ways. Find a partner or someone that's open to exploring that with you in a private way. You don't have to do a video for the world to see about it. Trust me, because I am now associated with that forever, and I wish I had never done it. I wish that I had just been patient and thought about trying something else. But now it's too late. So, fast forward. That relationship didn't last very long after that. He had his own issues, which I'm not going to get into, but we ended up breaking up, and I moved out, and I was single again, and I got asked to do other videos. So I decided to do my first anal scene with a very rough fetish company called Asylum. And that experience in itself, which I should probably talk about completely separate, because I don't have any negativity towards that company, because I had a good experience with the owner. In a sense, he's a good person, but I still wish I hadn't shot that content, because it further pushed me into this realm of extremity in porn, and that's really not what I want and for myself, and it's not what I like. But I was just offered it, and I knew that if I could handle the facial abuse, then maybe I could do this too, and I was able to handle it. But I broke in one of those scenes. I completely broke down and cried and sobbed, and I felt like a victim. I felt that. I went into this subspace that was real, and it wasn't acting anymore. And I reached a pinnacle point. But that's a different story. And then, I went back to facial abuse, and I shot for them again. And this time, it was sort of this reunion thing. And the owner, I did well, I guess, on their site, and he asked me, would you be interested in shooting content we can make you a paid site? And I said, maybe. I mean, I might be open to that, I mean, I thought maybe this was a way of me getting really popular and blowing up, or whatever you fucking think at the time when you... He said, we just shoot content, I'll get the material, I'll handle the back work on the website, I'll get the video equipment. He was persuading me, and I thought about it, but then and this was after the second video, because I was, like I said, doing well on their site, so he thought, let's just continue it. And the second time around, it was sort of just going through the motions again, because I knew what I was getting myself into. I just wanted the money. It's all I wanted. I was moving to LA, and I just wanted to fucking get some money and move out. So I was just seeking any work I could. I was ready to change my life and move and start a new chapter in Los Angeles and get off the East Coast. And I sold everything I had, and I moved out with a suitcase. And I knew that, okay, like, I decided to get back into porn, and this was my way to sort of pave a new chapter in my life. So I was trying to just work with as many companies on the East Coast before I flew over there. And the second time around, it was easier in a sense, but it was just as the same emotions coming over me. And I told myself after that, I could never do this again. Like, I could never do this again. And then the owner offered me a sort of partnership. And after a few weeks, I told him, you know what, I don't think this is right for me. I'm moving to LA, and I want to focus on my own content, my own work. I don't think I want to be tied into this. And he got offended, and he got insulted as if I was fucking him over. And I told him I was very polite, and I don't like to fight people. It's very hard for me to be rude to someone unless they're really awful to me. And I couldn't believe how, I guess, aggressive he got about it. And he ended up buying the domain, I think because I had told him, I guess, yeah, I get the domain and then give it to me. And because I foolishly had never bought a domain before at that point in my life. And the domain was felicityfeline.com. And he bought it with the intent that I was going to have it. And he then decided to keep it after I told him I no longer wanted to work together. And he created a fake blog pretending to be me, promoting his sites, put my social media on it, made it seem like I was writing everything. And I asked him numerous times to take it down, to please give me the website back, I'll buy it from you. He then asked me, he actually asked me, would you have sex with a dog? And he started asking me these explicit questions. He told me that he asked me if I was had mental problems. He asked, he was just unreal, insulting. And he then asked, I'll give you your domain back if you work for me at Exotica Expos. If you work at my booth and, make it seem like, oh, everything's cool and I work with facial abuse, when in reality, I was basically at the point where this guy is blackmailing me. And I told him, no, I don't want to do that. Just please give me my domain back. And it ended ugly. And then I ended up getting on wiki porn leaks with my legal name, harassing and trashing me. And it was him. It was him and the people he's involved with, and that website ended up getting shut down. But this guy was going out of his way to not only tarnish my reputation by using my domain, but also promoting me on sites that were not even related to his website. And he has done this to other people. He goes by Duke Skywalker. He has harassed many people in the industry. He's unwanted in the AVNs, at expos. He's an awful human being. And the years following this scene, he's continued to upload clips everywhere on tube sites, just promoting and pushing this when I asked him to not do it. And, I don't own the content, so I'm really unable to do this. And it's a very frustrating thing when you don't have the control over your reputation, in a sense, when other people have the ability to tarnish it by using content against you. So to sum all this up, I want to tell women that are curious about, or men, I'm sorry, men too, anyone that's curious to shoot this type of content, please think twice about it, because it will follow you. It will follow you. Any adult videos on the internet will follow you, and I've talked about this before in other videos, but especially these hardcore, really taboo fetish scenes, it's not worth it. It's going to promote you in this way, in a box, and people are going to continue to associate you with that, even if it's not what you're into, even if it was just a job. People don't know that on the outside. They see these videos of you and they relate you to that. And as someone that has grown so much since that time and knows deep down that that is not what I like, that is not who I am tied and associated with those now. Not by choice, but because they exist and people continuously still ask me about it. And the more I grow in my career, that company and those people try to push those videos back into my face, as if to say, wow, look at Felicity now. Remember when she did this? Or look what she did. That's always gonna happen. The world is full of really horrible people that are not only miserable within themselves, but they promote the misery to hurt others. And I've experienced this to the extreme, and I don't want to see this happen to people that have the same curiosity that maybe I once did. Think twice, think hard, and remember that there's always alternatives. You don't have to go down that path. And just remember there's always consequences. I'm sorry, there's a mosquito. The sun is really going down. There's always consequences to your actions, especially when there's a trail and it's on the internet. So please think about it. Think about it. And please remember that. I hope no one was offended by this video, and I hope that maybe you take something home with you. Maybe you learn from it. I gotta go.